Tommy, as you know, golf season is in full swing, and I'm not the best at going to the ATM before a round.
No, as we know.
I'm just not. It's for some reason, going to an automated teller machine and getting cash out, it's like this. It's just this long, drawn out process to me. I always forget to do it, and then I get to the end of the round, and I realize I've got to pay the caddy. I've got to pay and tip the caddy.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I have a go-to solution for that, and that, of course, is Cash App.
And it's worked so far, right? Where are you playing this weekend?
I'm going to play at the Bridge. I'll be at the Bridge this weekend. And as always, Cash App is the money app. It's the easiest way to spend, send, store, and invest money. You can do stocks, Bitcoin, whatever you want on there, and you can pay your caddies. Cash App. All right, let's welcome in NBA legend Gary Payton. Gary, thank you so much for doing this. It is a real pleasure for us to have you on the show. And, you know, I know one of the reasons you're doing this is to promote Hennessy and this unfinished business initiative that they're doing as part of the NBA's 75th anniversary, where they're distributing $7.5 million in funding to help Black, Latino, and Asian American owned small businesses that have been impacted by COVID-19. So it's an amazing thing you're doing. And anything you want to anecdotally say about this program or why you got involved, please go ahead.
Well, JJ, thank you first of all, for both of you guys, you and Tom, for having me on the show to promote this. With this campaign, what we're doing is me and the NBA and 17 other basketball teams in the NBA and Hennessy has collaborated. We know that the COVID messed us up, this world quite a bit, you know, and a lot of these the Black, the Asians, and things like that, they put all their money into the small businesses, and next thing you know, they lose all their businesses because they don't have any money. So we're doing this to bring it back, because we got to understand that if you understand, you growing up and your parents, and we didn't have it the way we got it when we went to the NBA, and your parents get a lot of money, save all their money, and all of a sudden they take their last $50,000 and put it into their small businesses, and then next thing you know, we have a COVID, and then all of a sudden we had a pandemic, and then it messes all up and takes that 50 million and wipe it all out, and then you don't have anything else coming through. We have to help these people, and that's what we're trying to do. And then plus we went out and got 75 recipients for the 75th anniversary. We did it because of the 75th anniversary, and we got 75 recipients that we're going to announce to get more of another benefit and honor them, because they did more and beyond on this community to help other people. And we're going to announce their presence and their prize on our Instagrams, on at Hennessy US, and on the Gary Payton Instagram. We're going to announce these 75 recipients who are going to get these awards. And I'm just very happy to be a part of that, you know, because I do a lot of things in the community, and I just keep it to myself because I want to help other people, because that's just the way, you know, I was raised and grew up, and I just want people to be, you know, successful. And I just hate to see somebody put all their life savings on board and out there, and then all of a sudden they lose it and they don't have nowhere else to go.
Well, it's an amazing thing that you're doing. It's an amazing thing that Hennessy is doing. Again, you can check out who these recipients are, what they're doing for their communities at Hennessy on their Twitter account, and that's at Hennessy, HENNESSY, to learn more about this initiative. It's an awesome thing. Random question, but it relates to Hennessy. When you were a player on team planes, after games, what was the drink of choice in the NBA back then?
JJ, I drunk everything. I drunk Hennessy, I drunk tequila, I drunk whatever, man. I drunk whiskey. But at the time, I was really drinking Hennessy. That was my choice of alcohol. In the 90s, we were drinking Hennessy and Patron. You know what I'm saying? At the time, it was a lot of tequila. But that's what we were doing. We was on that brown a lot. You know?
Did you guys do wine at all? Because that's the new thing. Not even that new anymore. All these guys drink wine.
Y'all know we didn't. We that was too bougie for us to have some wine. That's bougie. Wine in the '90s? No, we do it. We do it all. The only wine we would have was probably Boone's Farm and Night Train or something like that. That was the only wine that you would ever have, because you can get it for about $4. You know what I'm saying? And it gets you a buzz real quick. But no, we wasn't doing the wine. But that's what all these NBA players is about now. The LeBrons, Carmelo Anthony's, they all into wine, and that's just where it's going. But I'm still a big alcohol fan. The Hennessy and the vodkas is good for me.
When I first got in the league, Hennessy was pretty much in vodka. That would be what was on team planes, buses, whatever. You go to dinner, that's what guys are drinking. You go to the club, that's what guys are drinking. And then it became more and more. The little tequila, of course, crept in there, but then it became strictly wine. By the way, I do want to say that's probably the first time on this podcast, and we've recorded 118 episodes now, where we get a Boone's Farm reference. And I just love that. I love that we just got a Boone's Farm reference.
Yes. Boone's Farm was good, JJ. You understand that. Boy, that was something that'll get you a nice little buzz real quick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, college, I had it. Mad Dog 2020 in college. I fuck with that a little bit.
You got to remember the Cisco. You didn't get none of that?
No.
You didn't get none of that Cisco?
No.
The Cisco was his thing.
Gary, I this is a random story, and it has nothing to do with you, and I just want to share this because we're on this topic right now. I wasn't allowed to be in a fraternity at Duke, and so my freshman year, a bunch of athletes, football and basketball players, there was like 9 of us. Everybody had a nickname. We had gear. And the initiation to get into this fraternity was I had to drink 3 40s in 30 minutes. And the last one had to be Edward Scissorhands tied to my hands while I did a wall sit. Then I had to go out to a yard and run, after 10 bat spins, run 2 straight 100-yard dashes in under 16 seconds. And I did it. And I got to be honest with you, I yacked. I threw up.
I bet you did. Boy, that was crazy right there. That's a book hand.
Crazy.
Yeah. Man.
That explains a lot.
The name of the fraternity, by the way, just was Phi Drink a 40, by the way. It was Phi Drink a 40.
A 40. That's a heck of a name there.
Yeah. PDF. While we're on this topic, I've been curious about this, just in terms of what the off the court scene was like in the NBA in the 90s. And have you sort of ever thought about what today's athlete has to go through in terms of paparazzi, social media, just the celebrity and the attention the second you leave your hotel, the second you leave your apartment or house, when you go out to a nightclub, to dinner, and anything you do can be filmed. Like the party scene in my 15 years in the NBA, like it waned big time because of that, I think.
And listen, JJ, I would have been out of the league and probably not married for a long period of time. They married for a while. You know what I'm saying? Just because we didn't have camera phones, just because we didn't have Instagram and Twitter like that, because we could move around without people filming us. You know what I'm saying? We can be a lot of places without people filming us. And it's just so crazy right now because everything that happened, what the first thing happens? You pull out your phone, you start filming it. That is what it is nowadays, and that's crazy. And I hate that these guys got to go through that. You know what I'm saying? Because there's no privacy in your life. Everything is about social media, likes, how many you can get, millions of people or whatever, because they make money that way. And it's just crazy that happens now. I'm glad that I wasn't involved with that. You know what I'm saying? We had pagers, the little thing that beep, beep, beep. You got to give a 911, say, hurry up, emergency, come back. And then we had to stop and put some quarters in a payphone and do it because we had them brick phones too, but we had a payphone because we didn't want to talk to people on the phones. So it was really, in my era, I think my era was really good because we didn't have all of that. We have a lot of freedom. But you're right, JJ. It's about nothing but no privacy. You have to always be on a straight arrow because you don't know what's going to happen. You can't do anything. You can't go in public drunk. You can't do this because they're going to film put you on Instagram, put you on Twitter, and be like, look at Gary Payton, he's drunk right now, falling out. Look how it is. And then all of a sudden, you lose endorsements, you lose this, you lose that. And that's just the way it is, this world is. And that's why I tell everybody when I get on these things, it's about an era. And the era is, this era is about that. This is what it's about. It's about lights. It's about social media. It's about things. And as you see me, I don't like to be on social media. Social media is not my cup of tea, but I got to do it because of who I am. So I don't post crazy stuff. I don't post stuff where, look at me, I'm in Hawaii. I'm over here having a cocktail on the bar, and here go all the women behind me. You know what I'm saying? And this and that and that, and we're doing this and that, because you don't know who's looking at it, who's going to get it, and how they're gonna judge you. And that's what people judge you from, about what you're doing and how you are. And if you own that thing drunk and you own this doing that, they judge you, and then all of a sudden that brings you down.
A question on that, and this has really nothing to do with comparing eras, which unfortunately on ESPN I sometimes have to do, and it's a lot of times a fruitless exercise. I'll be honest with you, it's a fruitless exercise. Did you think your era, guys that played in the 80s and 90s specifically, that's sort of what I kind of deem the modern NBA, post Magic Larry, post merger, Dr. J, MJ. Do you think your generation of players, do you think they have any empathy towards today's athletes in that regard, in terms of not being able to move around freely as easy as it was when you played?
Absolutely. You know, I talked to a lot of my guys that was in my era, and we talk about this. We moved around freely because it was great for us. You know, you didn't see a lot of us in trouble. You didn't see a lot of us on a lot of things and doing that. These guys do everything. From their clothes, you get on TV for what you wear. You know what I'm saying? If you wear this and you wear that type of thing and do that and do that, it's just crazy. Everything that these guys do now, it's a camera on them and they're posting it. They're making something happen of it. In our era, our guys would say, yo, we happy that didn't happen. Because if you look at it, JJ, have you ever seen anybody in my era be on these social medias right now?
Not really.
Not really.
No.
You know, you
Not
don't
really.
see it like that. We don't come into ourselves like that and making ourselves known like that because we're not in that type of situation. Even though it might make you some money or get you popular on the business side or whatever, we don't do that. It's just something that we don't do. It is what it is. And I think in my era, we talk about it a lot. You know, when I see these guys at the All-Star games and I see them everywhere at games and stuff like that, we just don't do that. It is what we didn't grow up to that. And this is what it is. We just didn't grow up on that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what we have to understand. They grew up on this. And this is what they grew up on. So we didn't. So, you know, we don't want this. So they do. And now, like I said, it's about likes and how many followers you're going to have. And we don't work that way. We don't even care about all of that. I don't care if I have 6 likes and 2 followers. It don't bother me because it doesn't make me. Everybody still knows who Gary Payton is. So it doesn't matter about that. So it's just like you said. I don't like to talk about eras neither, JJ. It is what it is. The world does not stand still for no one. It's going to change. And it's going to keep revolving to change. And we got to understand that. And as we look at what's going on in the NBA about money and all this stuff, it is what it is. My mama just didn't have me at the right time. You know what I'm saying? That's just a fact. I wish she would have had me a little later, but you know what I'm saying? It didn't work. You know what I'm saying? So I don't go back and regret anything that happened. I'm glad I was in my era. I'm happy I was in my era because to me, I think my era was the best era. It is what it is, and everybody has an opinion, and that's my opinion.
I'm not gonna argue with that, and I think you nailed it on the social media stuff. And Tommy, you can ask your question. I just wanted to just essentially co-sign what you just said. I didn't grow up with it in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook came out when I was a senior or end of my junior year in college, and then I was well into the league when Twitter and Instagram. It's just, even now, even though I'm on it, it's not a natural thing to me. And I think for most players in the NBA right now, it is a natural thing because they had it on their phones at 12 years old. It just became very much normal to them, if that makes sense. Tommy, go ahead.
Gary, I'm curious how with some of the stuff on the court, you feel like looking back in retrospect, things might have been different. The specific example I think obviously would be like you and MJ in that finals when you guys are, you're giving quotes and you're talking and there's a lot of, sort of newspaper reporters and a few TV people talking about it. But when you look at, how everything gets blown up these days, where it's like somebody gives a look to someone or somebody doesn't answer something in a specific way or whatever it is, and it creates this like years of drama versus you guys were just battling it out on the court. And it just, I'm curious if you think that, your game would have been different because of some of these distractions if you would, if you had had to deal with some of that kind of like constant attention, with that specific example being sort of the primary one.
Tommy, the big difference with that is that we wouldn't have never condoned to going back and forth with nobody.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have been going back and forth. I would have made my quote in the paper and did what I had to do. They would have read the quote or the reporter would have came and told them, and then it would have been it. And then I would have seen him on the basketball court, and that would have been it. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't go back and forth. As you see this stuff of when Draymond says something, and then all of a sudden KD comes back and makes a comment, and then we come back and we make another comment, and then we come back and we make another comment. Man, listen, I ain't got time for all that. You know what I'm saying? If you want to see me on the basketball court, and then if you want to really, really see me, holler at me after the game, and then we'll just take it outside, and then we'll talk that way. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got time to be on back and forth and letting millions of people see us do that, because if I see you in person, I know you're not that tough to be doing that. You know what I'm saying? That toughness is out. Let's just go back in the back. Let's holler. If you want to, I'll give you my number. You can call me. You know what I'm saying? And if I want to tell you, I'll tell you in your face. So all that back and forth stuff on this social media stuff is childish to me. You know what I'm saying? If you want to say something to somebody, say it. You know what I'm saying? In their face. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. That stuff is irrelevant to me. And you're right. I mean, it's big right there. Like I said again, it's about likes and how many people you're gonna get to follow you.
It's a drug.
That's it.
It's a drug, Gary. I'm admitting in my own life, it's a little bit of a drug. I get it. It's a drug. How many fights did you get in your career?
Not too many, because then nobody want to fight me, Jay. If JJ didn't want to fight me, I was trying to, but I couldn't get in a lot. I got suspended for headbutting a couple people and all that type of stuff. But, after the game, if they see me somewhere, hey, Gary, how you doing? That was just the way it went. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't about all of that. And, I don't think they didn't want to fight. A lot of people didn't want to fight. It was only a couple of people in the NBA that would fight. You had the Oakleys, the Derek Colemans, them was true dudes who was gonna fight. Ain't wasn't the Chris Childs. They'll fight. You know what I'm saying? But everybody else just woof woof woof. You know what I'm saying? That's the way that was. But it is what it is. Like I said, this is nothing but about going back and forth on some media stuff, and they want to get likes and followers.
How players deal with conflict, as we're talking about, has changed. The competitiveness, the will to win. Like, I don't necessarily think that has changed, although we can get into that in a little bit. Maybe you think our generation is a little softer, but my question is, when you would have a conflict with a player, is that something that gets carried on for years? Does that resentment get carried on for years, or is it like, something happened, he said something happened in a game, the next time we play him, we're going to do battle and then it's over? Like, how did that sort of work? Because it feels like in the NBA, these beefs now are like a decade long, because there's so many ways to hash these things out outside of the arena, if that makes sense.
Well, JJ, what you're trying to say is that in our era, we didn't care about it. We'll say it and it's over with. You know what I'm saying? And then we'll go out and have a cocktail with everybody, and it'd be cool, friends. You know what I'm saying? And after that, but these guys now are so sensitive. They're very, very sensitive because they have so many people watching them. They don't want to seem to be that guy who gonna give up or won't say nothing or do this and do that. That is the difference of what's going on now. So it's a back and forth thing now. With us, we'd have said something, said it on the court, battled each other, and then said, "Man, look here, man. You want to have a drink tonight, or you don't? Let's go out here and get what we'll just go out here and do what we gonna do. Go meet us some girls or something." You know what I'm saying? That's where it would have been. You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden now it's a battle. You know, you want to go back and forth with them for 4 and 5 years. Man, look here, man. That mess is over with. You done said what you got to say. So what? I ain't holding no grudge against you. I don't care. I'm not going to see you no more. But the whole thing is now, JJ, you know this, that everybody hang out with each other. You know, they're buddy-buddy. We not buddies. I might, if I said something to Mike, I wouldn't see Mike again until probably the summer or somewhere I see him at a event or something. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not hanging out with him. I'm not calling him on the phone talking, "Man, what's up? You ready to go to a vacation with each other?" Nah, man, I ain't going no vacation with you. You know what I'm saying? What I'm going to go to vacation with you for? You know what I'm saying? Man, you battling each other. So that's the big difference. You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden you see them at the games taking off their jerseys and everybody taking pictures with each other together, man. Nah, man, I ain't doing that. I'm not doing that. If I want your jersey and my son wants your jersey, I'm going to get a ball boy to come over in your locker room, ask you on some one-on-one stuff. You're going to sign it and send it over to me and nobody know. So that's just the way it goes now.
Well, you are one of the most legendary trash talkers in the NBA, and I read that you would get extremely personal in your trash talk. You would bring up people's family, their parents, maybe DUIs, arrests, or whatever. And we've talked on the show about certain guys in the NBA who are pretty good trash talkers now, but they don't necessarily start off trash talking. It's almost like something's got to piss them off, or you got to poke the bear a little bit, or they got to have an incident with the fan, and then they get going. Did you come into every game with the mindset, "I'm going to talk trash"?
I did, JJ. That was my whole gimmick, to get anybody. I get underneath somebody's skin. That's what I was supposed to do. If I had a point guard and he was young and he was whatever, that was my thing, for him to be personal with me that night, because that makes him forget about his basketball team and make it personal against Gary Payton. And when I get it personal with you, I know that I'm going to win this battle, because I know I'm talented enough to D you up. I'm talented enough to score on you and do other things. And once that happens, you out of the game and you taking it personal. Now it's against me. So that's what it was. That's what it was with me. I made it personal all the time. And if you want to say something, if somebody say, "Man, I was out with your wife last night," man, you forgot you was with my wife, but I was with yours. You know what I'm saying? You don't know where she was at. She was calling you. You know what I'm saying? And she was out sitting right there listening to her, telling her, "Don't say I'm here. Don't say I'm here." You know what I'm saying? So I don't care if you say something about my peoples, because I know how to come back at you and say something about your peoples. So it didn't bother me. It didn't make me feel no certain way. If you say something about me, I can say something about you. I can hurt your feelings more than you can hurt my feelings. So that was just the way I wanted it to be. You can't hurt my feelings because I don't care. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that. And I think because these dudes are so much friends, they think about it and say, "Man, you knew that from personally, and I told you this on some friend stuff, and now you bringing it back in my face right now." That's the way they take it. And I would have been like, "Man, so what? I tell you, you did it, you did it. Now let me tell you about what I did with yours." You know what I'm saying? And I leave it alone.
Did you have an all 90s trash talk team?
Yeah. I mean, me, you got to get Reggie Miller, Larry Bird. He was just good. And he was one of the good ones. I only played against him for 2 years. He was really, really good. MJ used to give his little things underneath his breath. But people don't really understand. Chuck Percy was a cold 1-2 boy. boy, he used to talk a lot of trash. A rifleman, man, he woo. He used to talk a lot of gang of mess. So us five, we'd have been something else if we'd have been teamed up together, man, talking a lot of trash, man. Because we'd have had everybody discombobulated, man. I'm telling you, man, we'd have did a good job.
What was Larry's trash talk style? Like what were the things he would kind of say?
JJ, he was cold, man. He'll tell you like this. He'll bend down, say it soft to you. He's like, you know what? I don't know what you got for Christmas, but I know what I'm going to give you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take you on this block. I'm going to dribble 2 times, and then I'm going to pull up in your face, and the neck going to say, shoo, and then that'll be your Christmas present for me. I was like, whoa, you cold with that one, man. Yeah, he used to tell you where he going to shoot it in your face, and how you couldn't stop him, and how you ain't no good to him. And I was like, whoa, man, that's just a little bit, that's disrespectful. And then it'll happen. That's the whole cold thing about it. Everybody used to say Larry Bird was slow and all that. Game. I mean, I don't care what nobody say. He had the ultimate game, and he used to do it. He used to back it up.
Did MJ ever say anything where you were kind of like, I got to tip my hat?
Nah, see, MJ and me and him was really a little bit personal, you know what I'm saying? But whatever he said, I didn't really care. You know what I'm saying? He could never say nothing that outdo me. So you know what I'm saying? I would never give him no compliments. You know what I'm saying? So it was always a battle between me and him.
I want to actually talk about the beginning of your career, because you had an amazing career at Oregon State, All-American, All-Pac-10 3 times. Defensive Player of the Year, Conference Freshman of the Year. Like, you were a college star that stayed 4 years. You're the number 2 pick in the draft. And I'm curious about those early years, because there is some similarities between, obviously you ended up being a top 75 player. I was not that. But the early struggles that I had in my career and sort of finding my way and becoming who I ended up being after a good college career, those first couple years in the NBA, like, what were they like for you after such a high in college? And then, not that you were bad. I'm not saying you were bad, but you weren't the GP that got 9 All NBA selections in a row. That transition, those couple years, what was that like?
JJ, I was bad for 2 years, really bad. I was really bad, man. I was about to get traded. You know what I'm saying? They were talking about I'm a bust. You know what I'm saying? I was bad. That was my first 2 years was hell, JJ. It was just hell. You know what I'm saying? That is because you come off a great college career. You're the man. You're who you want to be. But then you don't get the right coach. You don't get the right coach who will give you that ability to do what you got to do. You had coaches that always gave you what you wanted to do. They'll give you confidence. They'll give you the ball. They do whatever. I had a coach in Casey Jones that didn't do that. He was just coming out of Boston with Larry Bird, Robert Parrish, and all of them, Kevin McHale, which he didn't have to do nothing. He would sit on the bench, and they would deliver championships because that's the way it was. Us being young, me and Sean Kemp, being young kids, only 21, 22 years old, we didn't know what the heck to do. We were trying to find our way, and we couldn't find our way because we just got a little gang of money. We want to party. We're not working as hard as we want to work. And then all of a sudden, our game goes to the dumps. And it was crazy. And then all of a sudden, George Karl comes in and changes our whole life because he brings somebody into our life, and Tim Gergerich, who makes us go back and be accountable for what we've done. First thing that Tim Gergerich came to me and did when they took over the Seattle Supersonics is he took me into a hotel room. He had 2 TVs. He had one of my Oregon State career and showed me my games, and he showed me one of my Seattle career. And it was total night and day. I was trash. And when I went and started working back and I went to Summer League. In my 3rd year in the league, I went to Summer League. I started playing Summer League, me and Sean. And all of a sudden, I got my swagger back. Next year, I make the All-Star team. Sean makes the All-Star team with me. When we did that, then, like you said, JJ, it took off. My career took off. But then It's just that we got to be accountable for things. And I know, JJ, you can feel this. You wasn't in the right situation. You knew you was talented enough. It wasn't the right situation. And I don't think, and you probably wasn't working as hard as you should be working to do what you needed to do. And when you got that opportunity and got the person who you needed, who wanted to give you an opportunity to be on the floor and get it, it changed your whole career. And that's what happened. We go through it, but we got to understand and take accountable for what we did. And we wasn't doing the way we were supposed to do, as work hard and become that basketball player we were in college. We just thought that we made it. And next thing you know, we relaxed a little bit. And when we relaxed, it was messed up. And next thing you know, they started punishing us. But then when we got back to what we did to get to our college career, because JJ, you didn't know you was going to be a pro. You just wanted to go in and play basketball. And when you wanted, and you was working hard to get to that place when you get to Duke to be that player. Now you relax after you get drafted, and it goes bad. And then you get back to what you was doing when you was first as a youngster. And what happened? You become JJ Redick again.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I first got in the league, it was the only time, there was about a year and a half, because I made a big change about halfway through my second year. I went to our strength coach and I was like, I gotta get my body right. I gotta get stronger. I gotta get quicker. I gotta get faster. Like, I'll work with you. And like, it didn't happen overnight. It took another pretty much year until we had that playoff run that went to the finals where I really felt like I belonged and I had confidence. But early on in my career, it was the only time in my life where I was like, no, things will happen. Things are gonna happen. Things are just gonna happen. Like, it was like, you have to have input to get the output, right? And
right.
It was to your point about relaxing. It was the only time in my mind, in my entire life, whether it was Duke, high school, whatever, where like I didn't go to the gym every day and shoot in the off season. I didn't stay after practice every single day. I didn't shoot after every single shoot around. I didn't lift weights 4 times. Like, I don't know why it was that way. And some of it probably was immaturity and a little bit probably of entitlement. Like, we're young guys. I'm a stud. I'm a star, whatever. And then, to your point about having the right coach, like, I love playing for Stan, and, I played for him for 5 years, but it really wasn't until I went to the Clippers with Doc that my career took off. It was just the right coach. And he said, I'm going to use you this way. This is how I want to use you. And that was, the second half of my career was even better than the first half because, I was in a different role where I could feel like I could star in. I think about Shawn Kemp a lot, by the way, living, playing in today's NBA with social media. Like, this guy he would go viral, I think, every game. There's a bunch of players that make plays at the rim or, with shooting or whatever. But Shawn Kemp was special. Do you have a favorite Shawn Kemp memory or a favorite Shawn Kemp dunk from your time with him with the Supersonics?
JJ, that's a crazy question because I had a lot of dunks with him. A lot of dunks. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the one on Chris Gatlin was pretty good. And Chris came over and shook his hand when we played Golden State in the playoffs. The one on Alton Lister was really, really great. The one that I got there before me when he dunked backwards in New York, that was a beautiful one. That's when I think everybody knew about Shawn Kemp. That's when he became there. But me throwing that ball up to him, JJ, and dunking all the time, man, and the antics that Shawn would do after all his dunks was amazing for me all the time. The one that I think that I would say that I remember the most is when I threw it off the backboard and he grabbed it and tried to dunk it so hard and it didn't go in, and me and him got benched. That was be the one because we're making a statement that, we can do things that we want to do. And then I told George, I said, you might bench me now, but all you're doing is making me be more rebellious against you to go do it again. You know what I'm saying? And then he put me back in the game, and I told Shawn, I went over to Shawn, I said, listen, I don't care how you do it, but next time, if you're gonna try to dunk it so hard, you better dunk the damn ball in the hole so we ain't gotta go through this. And he was like, do it again. And we did it in the same game, and we completed the play, and we looked over there at George, and I said, I told you. I said, it is what it is. But me with him, we were just talking about this the other day. I was just out there with him the other day, and we were in Seattle. And shoot, we talk about it all the time. How much fun we had as as two people. He's like a little brother to me right now. I talk to him every day. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, he's coming up here tomorrow for the game on Sunday. Me, him, and Detlef is going to the game. I'm taking him to the game. You know, us three are really, really close. So it's like I talk to these guys, and he's just a friend. You know, a honest guy, true friend. And Duncan, what I just have a pleasure of having the opportunity to play with him for 7 years. And JJ, if you would have played with him, you'd have probably loved him too, because he was a piece of work. I think everybody forget about him as that power forward, but he was a cold player. He could play.
Gary, did you have a moment in your career on like a technical level where you really felt like you transitioned into becoming the elite defender that you are? Where you sort of figured something out and you're like, all right, I went from being a good defender to I'm the best defensive player in the league?
Tommy, you know what year that was. That was in 1996. That's when I completed everything that I thought the player that the defensive player that I could. Once I won the defensive player of the year as the first point guard to ever do it, and I did. And I led the league in steals. I made first team all league, first team all defense. I made everything that year, and I changed the game on the defensive end. I was the distraction of everything. And when people would go on their boards, and they'll be in their boards and they do their meetings before games and team good, if my name was on the top of the board of how we're going to get Gary Payton out of this game, and they made it where they say, well, you the point guard, you don't handle it. We're going to get a two guard to handle it and start our offense. That's when I became who I was. That's when I became the defensive player that I was. If I made a team do that and make the two guard bring the ball up and start the offense, I'm pretty good. I was pretty damn good. So, you know what I'm saying? So that was the year that I just knew that I can play defense and I can do the things that I needed to do and change a game when I wanted to.
For the listener, for the viewer, can you please explain hand checking? What you were allowed to do, what you weren't allowed to do, where you were allowed to do it, where you weren't allowed to do it? Because I think there's a lot of people, listen, I see it on, they had hand checking, or players today couldn't do it because of hand checking. But there's some nuance to hand checking, right? There were certain places on the floor that you could do it. There are certain places you couldn't do it. There was a certain amount of time that you could have your hand on a player. There's certain, can you just explain it, please? Because you're the master of this. I want to know.
But JJ, that was where I became the best player there is, because you can do it only on certain times. So you only can leave your hands on it for like 2-3 seconds. If you roll the man and guided him, it'll be a foul. So hand checking was great for me because I would time a player. So when it was time to time a player, because every man's got to move with his hips. He got to move with his hips. He's got to move. So every time he'll come, I would take my hand and put it on his hip and push him. And once you get him off balance, I can rip him. You know what I'm saying? Or I can turn him. You know what I'm saying? And then hand checking gives you an ability to hold on to his hip and you move yourself back and stay in front of him. You can control a guy so much with his hips, because he can't go nowhere without his hips. So he got to run, he got to do all that. So my hands were so strong that I could always guide your body. And when you guide your body, you hit him like this and take your hand off of him, JJ. Hit him, take your hand off of him. Hit him, take your hand off of him. What does that do? That gets you off balance. It gets you off balance, and then I can always stay in front of you. And then if you try to beat me and get away from me, what can I do? I can put my hand on your hip and slow you down. If I turn you when you're trying to do it, you're going to get off balance, and then I can recover. And that's where the hand checking was very, very good, and you had to get good at it. You had to get really good at it, because the referees will let you do it, but they wouldn't let you do it in a way where you could control the player. They would let me do it because I had all established and I was that defensive player. You know what I'm saying? So I would use it to my advantage. That's why they took hand checking out of the NBA, because too many people were getting good. You know, the Mookie Blaylocks, the Alvin Robinsons, them type of guys were really good. The Derek Harpers, they were really good at playing defense like that. You know what I'm saying? And it took it out of it because it took point guards out of their game. And that was really good right now. So, like, you see all these guys dribble. In my era, all I would do is rush up on them, hand check them, knock them off to the side, and take the ball from them. That's all I would do. I would just take the ball from them. Like all the Kyries and all of them. You can't let them because they're so good. Kyrie is so good with the basketball. It's like a yo-yo to him with that ball. So now if I rush up on him and I get into him and I put his hip to him, where can he go? He can't go anywhere because that ball is going to go over here and I'm going to push him and the ball will be over here and then I'm going to take the ball and I'm going to be going back that way because he's going to be back over here because I'm going to divide him from the ball. I'm going to take him away from the ball. So that's why they took it away, because they wanted more up and down. They wanted more speed. They wanted more one-on-one basketball.
I was going to ask you, Gary, or how would you defend Steph?
Steph, you have to put your body on him. Did you see what Smart did him last night? He got into him a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard if you're doing that as a player and Steph, because he's trying to get away. He's trying to fight. He's taking too much energy away from him. When you let him be free, you see what the first 3 quarters, what he did. In the first half, he was just free. Couldn't nobody stop him. What was he doing? He was stepping back, shooting threes, boom. Then when Smart got into him a little bit, it took away a lot of it because he was pressuring him. And then what does that do, Tommy? What it does is it makes the other people who got the basketball, if they see that Steph is getting really, really hounded, what do? They go away from it because they don't want to turn the basketball over. They don't want to give it to him. And then they try to do things that they can't do. And that's what happened.
I got a question in terms of, maybe you've thought about this, maybe you haven't, in terms of today's NBA and the 5-out concept. And you brought up a guy like Kyrie Irving or, Damian Lillard is another guy. Have you ever thought about like the difficulty of guarding them in space without hand checking?
I have.
And what's your thoughts on that? I'm curious.
The outcome of that is that with me, if I'm coaching them, JJ, I'll double them. I'll get the ball out of their hands. See, nowadays, what do all NBA teams do? They just switch. They put a big man on a guard. Then they try to say, guard this outstanding or excellent score. Ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. So when we used to play, we used to hedge and just trap. Once we trap the basketball and get the ball out of his hand, what my job was to do is deny him not getting the basketball. Make it hard for him to get the basketball. Now I'll deny him and let them 4 other players play. Let them play. When you got a guy who we switch 5 times and he scores on your big man 5 consecutive times, I don't know why you don't call a timeout and switch that mess up. Switch it. Don't switch it. Trap it. Trap it and get the ball out of his hand, and then make sure that these kids nowadays, they like to split the double. Make it come close enough where he doesn't split and he veers out towards the top, the half court.
You're talking about more of like a hedge coverage versus because nobody hedges anymore. Even when I first got in, there were teams that hedge. Every 4 men would hedge pretty much.
Absolutely,
nobody hedges anymore. Yeah.
Nobody steps out and hedge. All they do is just say, "Okay, switch," and the big man is on him. He's gonna get killed. He can't guard him. And then what you do, you get a mismatch. And then what he do? He breaks it down by penetrating, and then all the team sucks in. And what do y'all do nowadays in this era? Shoot nothing but threes.
Yeah.
And they just kicking it. And it's all open. Kick, open. That's what happened last night in the 4th quarter with Golden State and Boston. Jaylen Brown was just penetrating. And all of a sudden, he started kicking it. They started kicking it. Horford wide open three. White, wide open three. Pritchard, wide open three. And what was happening? They were knocking them down. And when they knocked them down, they went into a thing and it was all over. It took over and Golden State couldn't score and they turned the ball over. What happened? They stole the win.
Yeah, and I guess that's the conundrum as a coach in today's NBA is because we just did a YouTube Live Game 1 recap, and we talked about how Golden State, for example, when teams blitz Steph Curry, when teams trap Steph Curry, they are so good at maintaining that 5-out spacing. They throw the ball back to Draymond in the short roll. He goes downhill, and now he's 4-on-3, and you've got shooters, you've got a potential back cut out of the corner, and they've seen it so much now that it's not easy, but they continuously make the right read. And for players like Steph, Dame, Kyrie, that's the problem, I think, in today's NBA with trapping them. Like, you are putting yourself at a disadvantage. Yes, you're taking the ball out of the best player's hands, but most teams don't have, I grew up watching the 90s, and I spend most of my YouTube time watching 90s highlights because that's what I love. But the spacing, you know what I'm talking about. The spacing was just different where you've got a 5-man in the paint. Your 4-man is probably somewhere, maybe the dunker spot, maybe at 15 feet. So guarding 4 people with 3 defenders was a tad easier because of that spacing. And I don't know. That's the conundrum in today's NBA with guarding great players.
But JJ, think about this. Even though it's a little different of trapping now, you don't have the kind of shooters that Golden State has on every team. Portland doesn't have it, and I don't think Kyrie has it. I think Kyrie has just KD, but that's it. I'd rather for that guy to beat me than everybody beat me or that one guy beat me. You got to think about it when Golden State played at Dallas. What did they do? They let Luka do whatever he wanted to do, but we took out the other 4. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't that hard because Dallas doesn't have shooters like that. I don't think they have that type of shooters. They had Tim Hardaway that was out. It was another big-time shooter. But Golden State has too many shooters, though, JJ. But I still would do the same thing. I would take my chances. I can't let him get 40 and 50. And then all of a sudden – we start trying to do things and he's still kicking and picking us apart. And then Clay has 20, Poole has 15, 18. And then all of a sudden you got everybody shooting. You got Porter who could shoot it. You know, you got a lot of people who could shoot the basketball, but that's just a different basketball team. But I would take my chances. I would not let one player dictate everything. Because once he started putting on a string, he makes jumpers. What you going to do? You're going to start jumping up to him. He's going to penetrate. Then we're going to suck it in again, and then he's going to start kicking it. You know what I'm saying? So just give me one out. Give me one out. I just want to trap him, take him out the game, and then if them dudes who are not used to making them plays do it, then that's fine with me. Because I don't see too many NBA players or teams that got the many shooters at Golden State that can do it. Golden State is the only team, and to me now, Boston, because they got a lot of good basketball players who can make plays. But everybody else, JJ, like with Dame and them, I would have to take my chances on trapping Dame because Portland ain't got no players like that. You know what I'm saying? I'll take my chances.
Yeah. Your year with the Lakers, you ended. You and I both also briefly played for the Bucks for 20-some games.
Right.
But your year with the Lakers, your sort of decision to go there, and obviously you're towards the end of your career now, and they were coming off a three-peat, and then of course the Spurs won in 2003. But that decision to go there, and I don't know if it was called this then, but essentially ring chase. What all went into that? Why did you sort of choose to go to the Lakers that year?
The ring chase.
100%. I thank you for admitting it, though, Gary. Thank you for admitting it.
I admit it. Listen, I was at the end of my career, man. I was ready to give it up. Basketball was basically over for me. I wanted to win a ring, but I was listening to the wrong thing. Win a championship. If you don't win a ring, you're not that. You're not this. Man, that's a bunch of bull. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter. John Stockton, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, never won a ring. They still the same people. They still 75 Hall of Famers, great basketball players. We're always going to be legends, everything. Who cares about what that ring mean, whatever they talking about? It might bring you a little bit more of a talk about because you won a ring. That don't mean nothing. I mean, you're still going to be the same basketball player. You're still going to be a great. I was going at it at the wrong way. Listening to people saying, if you get in the Hall of Fame, you won't get in the Hall of Fame if you don't win a championship. You won't be this if you don't win a championship. Bunch of crap. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we were chasing. And I was just doing that. Me and Carl decided to play with each other. We had been talking about it for like 2 years before that we were going to play with each other. We were getting at that in our career. We didn't think we were going to be with our same teams. He didn't think he was going to be with Utah. I didn't think I was going to be with Seattle. And we decided that wherever we go, and if we get a chance and become free agents, we're going to play with each other. That's the team we picked. You know, you got Shaq calling us, Magic Johnson calling you, Dr. Buzz calling you. Man, well, how can you not? Jerry West calling you. How can you not go there? You know what I'm saying? And we got two young kids who had just won 3 championships in a row. And we got a chance. And you're going to add 2 great basketball players to your mix. And no way we should be able to, nobody should beat us. You know, and that's what happened. You know what I'm saying? We started off 18-2 before Carl got hurt. And then when Carl got hurt, everything went down. You know, Kobe was going through what he was going through. Shaq was battling Dr. Buzz. And we still made it to the NBA Finals. And with a lot of players that nobody really knows. You know what I'm saying? You know, we only had Derek Fisher and Rick Fox and guys like that. But we made it. But, you know, it was a ring chase for me and Carl. Me and Carl wanted to get a ring. We could have got it. But, you know, we lost in 5 games to Detroit. It was a team that was rolling at the time, and we weren't.
Gary, you've played with basically every great. Sorry, my camera just died. You play with a ton of great players. Are there any Kobe stories in particular that stand out to you from being with him?
Only one Kobe story I want to talk to is about getting to know him. That's it. He was a great kid. You know what I'm saying? Great kid. People, you know, think about Kobe in the wrong way. Think about selfishness and all that stuff. Forget that. I mean, this kid was a competitor. That's all he was, a competitor. And that's all he wanted to do. He wanted to be great. And that's what he became. And you got to understand, Kobe, if he was a butthole and all that, why would he always go to the veterans and ask them, what can he do to get better? Selfish players do that. Don't do that. He was a player that just wanted to be better. He always asked me what to do. The year he came to me in the All-Star game and asked me how to play defense. And he made the defensive team every year after that, after I told him how to be that. Why would you do that? Why would you even say that? You know what I'm saying? That was my little brother. I was glad that I went to the Lakers in that year. And he was going through a lot of stuff. I got to know him very well. He got to be around my kids a lot. You know what I'm saying? You know, right before he passed, he was talking to little Gary, sending him shoes, stuff like that. It was just something that was really, really good about me just to get to know Kobe Bryant. You know what I'm saying? I got to know a lot.
I've told this Kobe story before on the podcast, but to sort of add on to what you're talking about, I was fortunate to be part of the USA basketball program my first 3 years in the NBA. This is right after college. I got named to the national team roster or whatever, and I couldn't participate my first year. And I go to do it my second year, and after the first practice, Kobe asked me to shoot our spot shots, you know, our post-practice shooting with each other. And I thought he was doing me a favor. I really did. I was like, oh, Kobe's being nice. And we start shooting. We get to like the third spot, and I realize every time I go up and I jump and I release, he's studying my shot. Like he asked me to shoot with him so that he could try to pick up something about how I shot. Like, that's just the way he was always just looking to get better. And by the way, it was a favor, because I still is one of my favorite basketball memories that I have is post-practice shooting with Kobe Bryant. You talked about just now about John Stockton, Karl Malone, and this ring culture that we have all lived in for a long time. And you ended up winning a championship with the Miami Heat in 2006. Did that championship ring, did that change at all how you viewed yourself as a player, viewed your career? Did it bring closure? What did that ring mean to you?
It brought me a happiness because I did win a ring, because I went through a group of players and a team that we were so as one with the Miami Heat. That's when Dwayne Wade broke out. Shaquille O'Neal. I went to Miami because of Shaquille O'Neal, who was like a brother to me till this day. And I got to experience the coaching of Pat Riley, and things like that. I was around Lonzo Mourning, a lot of guys, James Posey, Jason Williams, you know what I'm saying, Antoine Walker. I got to meet a lot of guys. Pat Riley put a team together and they called us the criminals. You know what I'm saying? Because we were the bad guys on all our teams. You know what I'm saying? We were criminals. So they didn't think the criminals was going to work. But what happened? The criminals came out and won a championship. We won a championship. And that was just something that just made me feel good. It didn't solidify my career. My career was already solidified. I had already did everything that I had to do. It doesn't matter. If I would have won a championship or not won a championship, it would have solidified what I did. I still would have made everything I made now. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't have changed nothing. A championship didn't change. Didn't make nobody vote me to be in this and vote me and be in that. That's a bunch of bull. So what had happened was it just made me satisfied with myself that I got an opportunity to witness that. It is all it was. It's an opportunity to see how it felt. Did it feel good? Yeah, I would have probably wanted to win it. I wanted to win it in my prime, doing what I do, but I didn't. I won it at the end of my career. But what was so good about it, I still was a part of that by making big shots, making big things. I made big shots in that series. Played a lot of minutes that I wasn't supposed to play. I wasn't even supposed to come here and play that many minutes. I was only supposed to come and play 10 minutes a game, 12 minutes, and teach Jason Williams. But Jay, White Chocolate he got hurt. So I had to do it. But it was a great experience. And that's the whole thing about it. Didn't change nothing in my life. Didn't change nothing there. It was an experience that I got, and I got to feel winning a championship.
When I retired, you just said two things that I had to sort of process by myself with some help from a therapist. And the two things were the desire to win a championship when you're in your prime, when you're at your best, because you want you as a competitive person, you want your best to be good enough. And the other thing, which you spoke so beautifully about, was that feeling of going through it with the group. Like, I always wondered what that feeling was like. And I never got to experience that. And that's something that, look, I'll have to process and deal with the rest of my life. But that group dynamic, because you played on a bunch of teams, I played on a bunch of teams, when you have a special group, it's like, I said this to one of my Clippers teams. We were talking before the playoffs, and I said, we all want to win a championship. I want to win with you motherfuckers. Like, I want to experience it with this group. You know what I mean by that? And yeah. I think the way you said that about the Heat, that captured sort of that significance. Yes, it was great for your career and your legacy and all that, but it's that feeling of doing it with a group of people that you bond with. That's right. What we're after. That's what we're after.
Yeah. JJ, you said it right, because we hung out every day. Every day we hung out together and became a family. And that's why it felt so good to win it with that group of players.
Let's be honest, the past couple years have been tough, especially for small businesses. We've been presented a unique set of problems, and the businesses who are thriving right now are the ones who are forward thinking. Well, Podium helps your small business stay ahead of the curve with modern messaging tools that make it easier for your customers to connect with your business. Think about it. Nobody likes trying to get in touch with a business. It's a total hassle.
That's true. A lot of people hate calling a business and would rather just send a quick message. Podium allows you to do just that. From healthcare providers to plumbers, over 100,000 businesses are texting with customers through Podium. Customers love the convenience. Businesses love the results.
Here's some examples. One car dealer sold a $50,000 truck in just 4 text messages. A dentist sent out payment requests through text and received 70% of their outstanding collections in just 2 weeks. It's a game changer. See how Podium can grow your business. Watch a demo today at podium.com/oldman. That's Podium, Podium, podium.com/oldman. Podium. Let's grow. Hey, summer's here and we all have some great outdoor plans. But what would make all of those plans even better? How about a lightweight, high-performing cooler that can also double as a tabletop? Arctic Coolers is the answer. Need to keep beers cold while golfing? Done. Have to keep food and drinks cold at a barbecue or on a camping trip? Arctic Coolers simply get the job done.
A cooler that's high in performance and durability is hard to come by, but Arctic Coolers, that's RTIC, really figured it out with their products. These things are amazing. It's a premium lightweight hard cooler that can be carried by one person. It doubles as a step stool, tabletop, or a cutting board, and includes a removable divider and basket at no extra cost.
It handles any terrain as well. It floats in water so you can bring snacks and drinks anywhere from a lake to the ocean. Arctic Coolers are made for the extremes. Head to rticoutdoors.com. That's rticoutdoors.com for summer discounts and deals, including free shipping of any order over $29. rticoutdoors.com. arcticoutdoors.com.
Gary, we were gonna bring this up when we were talking about it last night. What do you think makes Marcus so effective?
I think his toughness and his ability and his mindset. That's what he does. He goes out and he changes the game by pressuring the basketball, doing things that, other people don't do. Him and my son are very good at doing everything. They get their hands on balls. They get right steals. They'll get a big time rebound. They'll do the right thing. When you go in a timeout and the coach say, Marcus, I need something special right now. I need you to give me a big time steal. He will go out and get that steal for you. It's the same with my son. They do the same thing with him. Man, get your hand on a break ball or tap it out. If they make a shot and he just tap the ball out and give them another possession, that's a big time play. And that's what he does. He makes big time plays. The biggest thing he did last night, he sat on the bench for almost 8 minutes. 8 minutes. And Uwe, the coach, went over to him, talked to him. I watched this on the bench. He went over there and talked to him. And he said, this team is rolling. Give me a second, and I'm going to put you in the game. They got a timeout with 3 minutes to go. He got in the game, cold. They went, kicked it to him, and he made 2 big threes. Them are the type of basketball players that you want, and that's the difference that he makes. He just does it whatever way he has to do it, and that's what he did.
As someone who watches basketball every day and appreciates being a role player and appreciates guys that star in their role, we should acknowledge how awesome your son has been for this Warriors team and how fun he is to watch. And we're all obviously hoping to see him out there in the finals. As we said at the top of the show, you're doing this awesome initiative with Hennessy as part of the NBA's celebration of 75 years. Gary, you were in the league when they announced the 50-year anniversary team, and you are a part of the 75-year anniversary team. To sort of sum it all up, what does that mean? What does it mean to be one of the 75 greatest basketball players of all time?
JJ, I never thought that I would be at any moment of my life of right now. I never grew up in Oakland, California and said that I was going to become a Hall of Famer. I never grew up in Oakland, California and said they would make up a team of 75 great basketball players in 75 years. So what they're telling me, JJ, is that every year they pick a player. And one of them years was my years that they picked me, out of 75. And that's a great accomplishment. As if you think about how many players who went through the NBA in 75 years, and they picked me to be one of the 75. There's just 75 of us. And you got to be really grateful for that. To say that my talents were that good and that I did so much hard work to be at that. As we talked in the beginning of this, JJ, of how I struggled in my first 2 years. If I would have thought about my first years, would I be at this point right now, said I'm one of the greatest 75, after I thought that I was nothing in my first 2 years of the NBA after being a number 2 pick. You know what I'm saying? And that is crazy. And I just got to be grateful that I'm on it. I'm on the team. I made it. And you can't take nothing away from it no more. If we look, when my life is over, and I look back and people look back in the history and read books, they'll read Gary Payton was one of the greatest 75 players that ever played in the NBA. My grandkids can say that. They can look and say, my grandfather was this, my grandfather was that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just so happy that I can be a part of that and do this. You know what I'm saying? And then know that my talent and what I did in basketball was noticed that way. And I just left it out on the floor, and I did whatever thing I had to do to be that way.
Yeah. It's an amazing accomplishment. Congrats on that. And it's an amazing perspective that you have. And we appreciate the time. This has been awesome. We appreciate it, Gary.
Thank you, JJ. Thank you, Tommy.